The Geekdom101 Podcast, episode 11, talking about Dragon Quest 11, which had just come out. I was joined by Ryan Molina from Battle Geek Plus. We review and discuss the game, and God, what a great game, yo. What a phenomenal freaking title. The original air date for this episode was November 11th, 2018. If you're a fan of Dragon Quest, you'll dig this episode. But if you're not, and you still like JRPGs, maybe you'll find out. Maybe you'll find out a bit more about the franchise and like it. Also, there are major spoilers near the end of the podcast. I obviously give a warning. Do not listen to that if you haven't played the game. The game is 100 times more satisfactory if you have played 1, 2, 3, and 11, and if you're playing it without knowing anything. Trust me, it's worth it. Anyways, let's get to the Geekdom101 Podcast, episode 11. And welcome back to the Geekdom101 Podcast, and joining me on this special edition, special Dragon Quest edition, still a content creator, just former member of Channel Awesome. Now he has moved past that to become an author, video editor, video star, lifelong, gamer, former web designer, webmaster for old Dragon Ball websites from 18 years ago. He's done a lot. Please welcome to the Geekdom101 Podcast, Ryan from Battle Geek Plus, otherwise known as, do we even want to go back to your old name?
I don't mind.
All right, well, Caster, but I'm going to call you Ryan. So, what's up?
Hey, how's it going, man? Good to hear from you again.
Yeah, always. And we're doing this on a little bit of a short notice because we're recording this podcast on October 21st, about a week before it goes up. It's going to go up probably November 1st. And I beat Dragon Quest 11, and I'll be honest, I had the ending spoiled for me a long time ago.
Oh, man, I can't believe that you did that, man.
Yeah, I did. I had it spoiled, but it's okay because there was a lot of story elements that I did not have spoiled. And we're going to talk about all that here on this podcast. Now, so you also played Dragon Quest 11, and you are one of the few people who have played all the other ones that have been released except for 10, because 10 never came out in this country. I'm still salty about that.
Yep, I've been playing since it was called Dragon Warrior on the NES, and yes, I'm very salty that 10 has not come out. I mean, there have been some rumors that they might make an offline version of it, but we don't know if that's going to ever happen.
Oh, come on,
but,
dude.
But I want it to happen because, there's like a gap between, 9 and 11 that we haven't been able to play.
Well, what irritates me is the fact that we know for a fact there's a Switch version of 10 that has all the expansion packs already included, and it bothers me that it's in Japan only. Come on, just put it out. I can't imagine the netcode being a problem here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. But I also started with Dragon Warrior. Now, before we get into this, you have a book. I want you to promote your book about video games to all the people listening.
All right, so for the past couple of months, pretty much after I left Channel Awesome, I've been writing a book called A Winner Is You, the funniest video game quotes with snarky commentary. It's, all those really funny video game quotes like, all your base belong to us, this guy are sick, and mad skills from Xenogears, It's a book that has... It's a book which is like a collection of those quotes, but I add my insight on them. So I'm like, oh, hey, so all your base belong to us. And I'm like, this is the greatest quote ever. And then there's like and there's a whole bunch of SNK fighting games that have that have a lot of hilarious quotes. And, I just add like some really funny commentary to it.
Yeah. You basically outline all the great quotes of the past. And it's interesting because the thing about the book that I loved, and I haven't finished it yet, but I took a look at it when you sent me a version of it. It's very colorful. It's not just text. You have pictures. You have, it's very easy to read. Like, I feel like it's a book that anybody can pick up, even if you're 13 or 30 or... old, if you're 50, it's very easy to read. It's almost like a good book to have in like a doctor's office. It's so easy to look at.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. Yeah, because I do read a lot of ebooks on my Kindle, so I wanted to make sure it was very visible to read on like a Kindle on an iPhone.
Right.
Yeah.
No, yeah, and it is for sure. Now, Dragon Quest. Talk about Dragon Quest 11. What we're gonna do is we're gonna quickly do like a non-spoiler, I guess, review, and just give everybody kind of give our thoughts on the game, and then we're gonna go into heavy spoilers. There's gonna be a second section of this podcast where we're gonna talk about spoilers for this game as well as other Dragon Quest games. So it's really a podcast for the hardcore of the hardcores, and I'll be honest, I don't even know how many downloads it's going to get. This is purely passion for me because Dragon Quest just never hit in the West the way I wish it would have. Final Fantasy was always bigger, even though they've screwed up for the past like 4 entries. Final Fantasy has been a big letdown. Dragon Quest has been consistent quality, and I said it before we started recording, I'm actually very upset, very triggered that people have been ignoring this game. Yes, I know Spider-Man's great. Red Dead Redemption 2 is going to be great. It's not out yet as of this recording, but it should be out by the time most hear this. I know there's great games coming out, Kingdom Hearts, and Dragon Quest is unfortunately getting forgotten about, and it does bother me because this game has one of the best storylines I've ever played in the video game. Probably my favorite in all of Dragon Quest, I think. I like it even more than 5.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. I mean,
5 has a great one, too.
Yeah. I'm going to say 5 has a really good story, but I would definitely say 11, it's going to, let's see, it's going to tug at, it's going to tug your tears a lot. I mean, I think I cried 13 times while playing Dragon Quest 11. I'm not kidding, dude. I'm not kidding. It just hits you emotionally so much, man.
Especially if you're a fan of the series, because we're going to get into it in the spoiler section, but right now, non-spoiler. There are so many homages to previous games. If you're a fan of the music, Koichi Sugiyama is one of the greatest composers of all time, without question. If you argue that, you don't know anything about music, sorry. And he just nails it once again. I know some people were disappointed that the game had a MIDI soundtrack. I thought, yeah, it sucks they had a MIDI soundtrack. There are mods for the PC version. You can put the orchestral score. I have the orchestral score on CD. It's amazing. He's always delivered quality music since the very first game. He's back with quality music, and when you hear the old themes, it just nails you. There's the scene where you hop on the horse and you hear the theme from Dragon Quest 3 in the post.
Oh my God, yes. I was like, whoa.
And that's one of the most alpha themes ever. And then you hear there's a part where you go to the tournament arena and you hear the Dragon Quest 4 battle theme, which is one of my favorite battle themes ever. Oh God. But how would you rank this one compared to the predecessors that we've obviously we're going to take 10 out. It's an MMO. We don't have it. Right. 1 through 9. How would you rank it? Where would you put it at?
My favorite one. Let's see. My favorite one is the third one on the NES.
That's also my favorite one. Yeah. But I like the SNES remake a bit more. The Super Famicom.
Okay. Let's see. And I think in second place, it's hard. It's really hard for me to decide between part 5 and part 11 because I mean I have a lot of sentimentality towards part 5.
Me too. Actually, and that's hard for me because we're very similar on this one. 3, 5, and 11 seem to be. I mean, and I'm not saying I don't like the other ones, but 3 is so fun because there's so many cool stylistic choices. I guess one day maybe we'll go back and do another podcast like this and recap the entire series. That would be fun to do with you. Maybe I'll get like Sukento on there or somebody and we can have a roundtable discussion. It'd be a good time. But I don't know if there's any Dragon Quest podcasts out there. I haven't looked. I'm hoping that maybe some people over on the Woodus board or other places will check this show out because I think we're going to have a good time. I think they'll appreciate what we're doing here. But I love 5. Obviously 4. I love 4 to death. 4 is right up there.
Yeah. I love 4 too, but although that's when I kind of that's when I kind of thought the series was beginning to get a little like linear. I mean, because what I liked about 1 and 2, because I remember in 1, it wasn't that linear, but even though it was a very short game,
right?
But
it was long when we were kids, though.
When
we were kids, it was long. Now it's easy. Yeah, now it's a piece of cake.
Yeah, and in Dragon Quest 2, once you get the ship, it kind of gets non-linear. And I remember, I think back in the early '90s, me and my cousin, we had no internet, and so we had to figure everything out in 2 by ourselves, and it was really fun. Yeah,
especially when you have the road to Rhone and you have that area that's like the Lost Woods where it keeps repeating the same. I hate that.
Yeah, I know.
2. I tell all my friends this. 2 is like the hardest one the NES version. Now, if you play the Super Famicom or Game Boy Color remakes, it is a little bit easier. They kind of tweaked it, but that original NES version will destroy you.
Oh, I agree, man.
Dude, when you go to that fire dungeon and you keep stepping on fire, like the volcano, I think all the Dragon Quest games kind of have that, though. When you get the ship, or when you get the bird or whatever flying, the hot air balloon, it becomes non-linear. But back to 11. No, the storyline with 11 was just incredible to me.
Yes, I agree.
Obviously, I think 3 has a great storyline only because of what 1 and 2 built upon it.
Yeah.
Let's not spoil that, but
right.
5 has the whole family thing, which was, you start off as a child and you end up as a grown married man by the end of the game. That's not really a spoiler. Everybody knows that. Yeah. But I'm not going to say what happens. In 11, you don't have that. But in 11, you have these great side characters. We'll talk about them as we go through the game. But so many great characters in 11. I thought the villains were way more interesting in 11.
Yes, definitely.
Some of the best villains ever. Fantastic what they've changed. I'll tell you this. When I first heard that they got rid of the random battles, I was actually not happy about it because I'm so used to Dragon Quest being a traditional RPG, but as I played through the game, I fell in love with it because one of the problems with the old Dragon Quest games is that the battles are very frequent in some parts of the game, especially the dungeons, and if you're about to die and you're trying to leave, right? And then you get caught, you try to run away, and you get killed. I do love the fact that in this game you don't have to get into battles except for when you're in the ship. I really, really like that.
Oh yeah, honestly, I didn't really mind it because I think Dragon Quest 9 was the first one to get rid of random battles. But I just I just fight all the battles anyways. I mean, like that's how I am. Like I just like to run into every battle. I like to fight every battle. But there are times that I do lose, so sometimes it's not the best idea to do that. But I don't really I don't really like grinding in RPGs, but Dragon Quests are games where you pretty much have to grind if you're going to win.
If you don't grind, especially the first one. I used to always make fun of my friends who were into Final Fantasy because Dragon Quest is not a game for pussies. Yeah. And by the way, this is the Geekdom101 Podcast. We can curse all we want to on here.
Okay, cool.
It's not a game for pussies. And I'm not saying Final Fantasy is, but so many other games hold your hand. You play Dragon Quest 1, Dragon Warrior, you go in the wrong area too early, you're dead. You will die.
Exactly.
The scorpions, the dragons, the green ones. And then it's crazy because at the end of the game, when you're about to fight Dragon Lord, the final floor, you have Axe Knights and you have Red Dragons who will kill you. Like, the Red Dragons in that game are almost as hard as the final boss, if not harder in some cases, if you catch them on a bad day.
Oh, yeah, and not to mention, like Dragon Lord himself could probably take off half your life in one attack.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about it is beating him is relatively easy because all you have to do is just hit him and then heal, hit him and then heal, hit him and then heal. But if you are not paying attention and he can nail you with that fire and your history. Plus, you got to make sure you have all the equipment. It's a very simple game. With this game, I just feel like the thing that made this game great, and we're going to go into spoilers here in a moment, but not yet, is the post game, without spoiling it, is like a totally new game. Like the thing about this game that was so incredible is this is the first Dragon Quest game, and I love all of them, that had a lot of balls. This game has balls because
a lot of balls, trust me.
Yes, huge balls, and not just the one that's in the sky, which we're not going to spoil until later. Like, you have 3 acts. Act 1, you're building up to get to a certain location. Then you get to the location, then something happens that you're not expecting. Then Act 2 happens when you have to rebuild everything, and then you have to kind of beat the game. Then there's the post game. Every Dragon Quest game, starting with, I want to say with 5, I think 5 was the first one to do it, has that bonus game content, because in 5 you get to fight S-Turk in like that extra dungeon. Like, yeah. But that might have been, you might be able to do that before the final boss. Anyways, 5 really started like and usually what they do in these games is the post-game stuff is usually like a dungeon and a couple boss fights, and that's it.
Right.
In this game, the post-game is actually an entirely it's almost like a sequel to the game. It's like the entire third act of the game. So even though you beat the game, you get a ending. That's not the real ending.
Well, I would definitely say, do
you know any other games that have done that before? Because I can't think of a game that's actually done it like that ever.
it's kind of hard to think. I mean, let's see, I can't.
To where like the post game has that much content, like a whole other game, a whole other story.
Yeah, I would definitely say the first Red Dead Redemption has a lot of post game content, even way after the ending. After the 2 endings in that game.
That's crazy considering what's coming. That it should be out now. And it's one of those things where it's rare still. I mean, but the thing I love about the post game in this game is everything that you are taught that you think you know. The post game subverts your expectations, and not in a bad way. Like Last Jedi. I hate bringing it up, but it subverted people's expectations in a bad way. A lot of fans think it was just too many ha-has. But with Dragon Quest XI, the way that Yuji Horii structured this story, there's enough clues given to you throughout the game, and there's actually a big clue about what's really going on in the game, but you don't really know until you hit the post-game what actually happened. And, it takes the whole idea of the legendary hero once defeated the villain and now you have to follow in his footsteps and throws it completely out the window, because then you find out what really happened and it's like, well, that's different. That's not what they've done before in these games. So if you're a fan of this franchise, I don't understand. If you're a fan of this franchise or any RPG, this is like a must-have, dude. I don't understand how anybody could not have it.
I remember kind of halfway in like the 3rd game, you get the plot twist once you beat the villain. Once you kind of beat like the main villain of the first part of the 3rd game, then after that there's a plot twist, and now we have a bigger villain after that. But yeah, Dragon Quest XI definitely has a lot of plot twists, which we'll probably get into in the spoilers.
Yeah, we'll get to it here in a minute.
Yeah.
But I'm just essentially I love this freaking game. I haven't played Red Dead yet because we're recording it before it comes out. Maybe that's going to be the game of the year. It's hard to beat Rockstar because Rockstar is always doing good stuff. But this game, at least story-wise, the game blew me away. I mean, you have everything in this game that all the other Dragon Quest games had, as far as like swashbuckling adventures and kingdoms going to war and things like that, mysteries and things like that. Obviously, Toriyama is still on fire.
Yeah.
Even how many years has it been? 30, 35 years almost, and this guy is still creating. And I've said this before. Obviously, a lot of people know me for Dragon Ball. And I think a lot of people know you for Dragon Ball as well. I feel like Toriyama's Dragon Quest designs are significantly better than anything he's done in Dragon Ball. Like, dude. Look,
yeah, I have to agree.
Right? Like, he did some cool stuff for the Tournament of Power, like some of the newer characters, like Jiren and all that. But these designs in this game are just absolutely fantastic. I feel like Toriyama feels less stressed when he's working on Dragon Quest than he is Dragon Ball. I think he's too much of a control freak on Dragon Ball in some cases. Obviously, he just passes it off to Taro Toei. With Dragon Quest, I think he might just be more chill and just have more fun. That's how it comes off with the way he draws these monsters and characters.
Yeah, I mean, I'll definitely have to say, like, the Knights of Heliodor. Like, just looking at their armor is amazing looking.
Yeah, and all the monsters from the past, the Cyclopses and all these guys, the Atlases, they're all back. I mean, Slimes are back. How did you feel about the gameplay? Because I feel like what I like about this game, and by the way, we are discussing the PS4 version of the game. Now, there is a 3DS version that actually has 2 modes, 2D and 3D mode, which I absolutely love. Unfortunately, it's not localized. We're making this podcast only for the West here, so...
Right.
As much as I wish, that was a burp, by the way, not a fart, but I had my mouth next to my hand, so it made that weird noise.
Okay.
It was a burp. I have gas. But anyways, so the PS4 version, obviously the graphics is a beautiful looking game.
Oh my
Everything
God.
about it.
It's probably the most gorgeous looking game on the PS4 right now, probably until Red Dead Redemption 2 comes out.
Yeah, and GTA 5 I thought looked great as well.
Yeah.
There's been a few, but yeah, it's the best looking Dragon Quest game without question. But just to clarify, we're talking about PS4 version. But how did you feel about the gameplay? Because I do like the fact that this game does kind of take the classic Dragon Quest 4 system of using tactics, but you can also use the follow orders command and control everything. One of the things that this game did differently, though, and this is only for the PS4 version, is that when you're playing the game, your commands, when you issue commands, the characters do them immediately, whereas in previous Dragon Quest games, you go turn by turn and you issue your commands at the beginning of the turn, and then you kind of give all 4 or all 3 of your characters commands, whereas in this game, the commands come up as it's the character's turn. So it does play differently than the previous Dragon Quest
definitely.
games.
Yeah, because let's see, I would say probably for the entire first part of the game, like having, like being able to do your commands right away definitely helped, but probably by the time you hit the second part of the game, where the bosses are definitely a lot harder, it can kind of throw you off a bit, because there's been a lot of times, like the bosses will like attack. Well, like the bosses kind of in the later half of Dragon Quest XI, they will just like annihilate your party right. Right
multiple attacks a turn.
Yeah, right even before you can choose your attacks. So I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah, no, definitely. But in this game, it just played differently. Now, if you're playing the 3DS version, that is old school. That one you issue your commands. And I really do want to play the 3DS version.
Yeah, me too.
Also, the 3DS version's got bonus bosses from previous games, and this one didn't have that.
Yeah, and also one thing I thought that was really cool is like during the battles, you can actually control your character. I mean, it doesn't do anything, but
you can move them around.
Yeah, you can move them around. Like it won't help you dodge attacks or anything, but it's just a really, really nice cosmetic looking thing, and I had fun with it.
Yeah, no, I did too. So I think that should do it for the non-spoiler section. I mean, it's a game that you kind of have to get. If you're a fan of the franchise, people have often asked me, do you have to play previous Dragon Quest games to play this one? The answer is no. However, it is highly advised you at least play the first 3. There are certain elements and Easter eggs from other games in this one, especially in the post-game for 4, 5, and 6. There's a major character that is an homage to characters from 4, 5, and 6. We're going to get to it in the spoiler section. But and there's also a lot of theories, which we're going to discuss here, about where this fits in with 4, 5, and 6. But I don't think it's necessary. But this game, I feel, is a complete and total. It's like a love letter to 1, 2, and 3, especially to 3. Especially this game is like
especially to
3. There's a lot of stuff with 3 here, and I love 3. I have so much love for 3. I can't even begin to tell you.
Right.
So. Would you agree with that, or do you think that? I mean, here's how I feel. If you played 1 through 9 and you play this one, you're gonna get most of the homages, and the homages are there for the hardcore fans, but they're not necessary. Whereas you don't have to play those games, but it helps. What do you think?
Let's see. I would say if you've never played a Dragon Quest in your life, it is a really, really fantastic JRPG to get into. But and, even if you've never played a JRPG in your life, I mean, it's just such a good game to play. But if you've played the previous Dragon Quest, especially the first 3, then I think you'll love it even more. So I totally recommend the game to, to veterans of the series and also people who've never played a Dragon Quest game or a JRPG in their lives.
Do you think that this game is going to create new fans of the series? I mean, I know it already has, but I mean, do you think? Because I feel like a lot of people who I've talked to have already straight up said, "Yeah, I'm going to go back and play 1, 2, and 3 after this," especially 1, 2, and 3, because there's, again, we're going to get into it in the spoiler section, but dude, I'm hoping that it actually does connect with people.
Oh yeah, absolutely, because like right before we do get into the spoilers, I'll definitely say, I think the best part of the game is the actual character development for everybody. Every single character is just so interesting. They have such interesting backstories, and a lot of them have like really emotional backstories too.
Well, I agree with that completely. They all, I think, Eric, Sylvando, Serena, and Veronica have tremendously emotional backstories. Even Hendrik.
Oh yeah, Hendrik.
Without going into what happens with him, because there's a big spoiler with him, but he's got a great backstory too. They all have great backstories, man. Now that I think about it, they all do. Rab, they all do. Jade, by the way, Jade is awesome. Jade,
I love Jade.
Who's your favorite character in the game? Because I think mine is Jade.
I love all the characters. I'm gonna say it's a tie between Hendrik and Jade.
Yeah, I like Sylvando as well.
Yeah.
Good comic relief guy. But no, get this game, dude. I think I'm just mad that people aren't getting this game. I really, really wish they would.
I know.
It's just, and when you do get it, definitely go back and play 1, 2, and 3. I would actually recommend you play one. They're available on mobile now. You can get them on your phone. I think Dragon Quest 1 is like $2. And if you play them in order. 1, 2, and 3. I don't care what you heard, because 3, I feel, Ryan.
Yeah.
3 is more effective if you don't know what it is, because then when you get to the end, or when you get to the second half, or the last part, the third act of 3, because 3 also has 3 acts, which we're going to talk about another time. But
right.
When you get to that final part, I feel like it's much more of a shock, because when I was a kid and I played 3, I didn't know what it was. And then when I beat the game and I figured out what it was, that's when I knew that this is the greatest RPG franchise of all time, because they got me. I didn't know what it was. I didn't read up. There was no internet, like you said. I didn't read up on the magazines. And then when I figured out what it was and who you actually are in 3, I was like, I can't even begin to tell you how I felt. Like, it's a feeling that can't be replicated. Like, they got me. It was like, God, these games know how to satisfy you tremendously, especially by the end. And Dragon Quest XI's ending is very satisfactory, I think.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, because with the third game, if you bought it brand new, like, the entire manual was, like a guide for the entire game. So I was, like, kind of spoiled right there. Oh, I was like, whoa, this is, like,
I didn't get it brand new, bro. I got a pawn shop shit. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I thought 3 was the sequel to 2, and then you find out what it actually is. I'm not going to spoil it.
Right.
But it's such a... God, I love that game. All right, so... anything else you want to say before we get into spoilers?
The only thing I'm going to say before spoilers is I would definitely say if you have around 70 hours to spare, or a lot more,
minimum, because there's a lot of side quests too.
Definitely buy this game.
Yeah, it's worth it though. It's not like, and here's the thing I will say is, it's not the longest one, even though it could be if you do all the side quests.
Definitely not.
7 was the long. And also, let me ask you a question. A lot of people love 8.
Yeah.
8. One thing about 8 is this game is very much like 8, except that this game is better in every way, but it's a lot like 8 because 8 started the trend that this game kind of gave us, which is beautiful graphics, but the characters, Yangus, Jessica, Kukule, or what was his name in the dub? The English version? Angelo.
Angelo. Yeah.
They're all great characters. Dual Magus is a great villain. I like 8 a lot. This game kind of did what that game did, but even better. It was like that game on steroids.
Oh yeah, definitely. I really liked 8, but I don't think 8 really hit. I don't think 8 really hits you as emotionally as 5 and 6.
No, and 11.
Yeah, and 11. Yeah.
And 11, yeah, because 1, 2, and 3 aren't really that emotional.
Yeah.
4 has some emotion, like Alina's storyline. I thought was kind of emotional.
Yeah, Alina's story.
Yeah, Alina's my favorite character in that game, bro. You level her up, bro. She's a damn.
Bam,
bam, bam, bam. She hits twice. Bam, 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 bam. I'm sorry. I'm talking about another game here. Okay, so spoiler territory.
All right,
now.
spoiler time.
So if you have not played Dragon Quest 11, please do not. I'm asking you to turn this off. I'm begging you to turn this off, because the best part about this game is how it fucks with you. So please, I am begging you, turn this off. Thank you for your download. Remember, you left off here and come back after you beat it, because this next section of the podcast is for the hardcore Dragon Quest fan. We're going to talk about we're going to talk about a lot of things, but please play. I don't care. I don't care about spoilers. Trust me. Where do you want to start, bro?
Oh, man. Okay. Whoa. Where do we begin?
Where do we start?
Let's see.
Okay. All right. First of all, I was spoiled a year ago on a couple things, but not everything.
Right, okay.
When did you realize what was actually going on? Like, did you pick up on the clues?
Let's see, I was like, okay, there's when I was playing the game, I was like, all right, there's a whole bunch of homages here, but then, the character Erdwin, I'm like, well, how come they're not calling him Erdrick yet? But then, But then you realize
in the Japanese version, his name is like he has a different name, but it's Loloto or the Roto. You know, it's called
like Loto. Yeah, like, and I was like, how come they're calling the world Erdria and then they have Erdwin? I mean, I was like, I'm sure the name Erdrick is gonna come up. Oh, there it is, right at the end.
Well, remember, we knew that this game had some kind of tie-in with 1, 2, and 3. Now the question is, what is that tie-in? So, the end of the game,
right?
You know, you beat Morkent, which was a cool final boss fight. A little easy, but it was cool. Reminded me of the one in 8. And then you're like, wait a minute, what? You know, because they already. I love this game. They tease time travel at the beginning of the game, very beginning of it. You touch the sapling. You can go back in time, talk to your grandmother, read the letter. Again, very emotional.
Oh yeah. Also once you go back to Cobblestone, like after you escape from prison, you kind of go back in time a little to see.
That's what I was talking about.
Yeah, to see the grandfather.
See yourself as a kid.
Yeah, then. But then once you're like warped back, and you're like, holy shit, the whole town got fucking destroyed.
I know, but that's the thing. It's just, oh my god, this game. You're right, dude. This game really hits you in the heart because you're reading that letter that your mom wrote you, and like. That's like, fuck. And then you find out, like, who your real parents are and Jade's involvement in your backstory. This was such a well-crafted story. I'm stunned as to how good it was.
Oh, like, man, like...
You're thinking Yuji Horii getting old. He can't capture that magic anymore, but No,
he still got it, man. He still got it. I think even better now.
Even better. So, yeah, and then, like, you find out that Rab is Sir Robert, your grandfather.
Yeah, he's your grandfather.
And then when Hendrik turns babyface and he joins your team, it does come off like that Goku and Vegeta kind of like, okay, Hendrik's kind of like my rival, sort of, kind of, and he's now on your side, and he's a big, you know, and then he's like basically the new Drustin. He's kind of like the new version of him.
Yeah, because it's so trippy, like, you know, okay, first half of the game, you know, like you think everybody, you know, everyone from Cobblestone is dead, but then
and Dundrasil is fucking well, they were dead, and Dundrasil is like evil. It's an evil empire.
Yeah, and then after that, then after everything happened, then once the whole world gets fucked up after the events at Yggdrasil, and then now you're back at Cobblestone, but it's now the last bastion, and then everyone's alive. I'm like, what the fuck just happened? And then they're saying, well, Jasper was about to kill us, but Hendrik decided to keep us alive in the dungeon. I was like, what? Like,
I actually didn't get that spoiled for me. I did not know that happened.
Like I wasn't expecting it either.
And also, Hendrik's backstory with, what was his name? The blonde guy who's evil.
Oh,
Jasper.
Yeah,
that backstory was really sad. And
I
love the motivation behind Jasper. Like, you were always better than me, you know. It was the Majin Vegeta thing, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
yeah, and then when you beat Jasper, like at the end, kind of like at the end of the first, at the end of the game.
Yeah, he's like on his knees and shit.
Yeah. Then Hendrik is like, well, no, it was always you I was looking up to, and you're like, oh my god, that hits you in the heart so much, man.
Oh, it's crazy, and then when you find out that Veronica sacrificed.
Oh my god, I was like, no,
it was. Because Veronica was the most likable character early on.
Yeah, I loved Veronica. She was awesome.
And I was worried she was going to get annoying. You know what character was the most annoying character in this game, bro?
Oh, which one?
The mermaid. The fucking rhyming mermaid.
No, actually... No, I actually thought the mermaid's story was...
The backstory was...
Yeah, that was emotional, but the mermaid herself...
The music they played when you go underwater was trippy, bro.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I thought she was annoying though with the rhyming, and she'd talk all slow, like.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about the one that's on the strand, not the queen.
Oh yeah, the strand.
Yeah. I do love how you transform into a fish. God, what a great game. Yeah, and then Eric's backstory with his sister. Like, I love how you really don't know shit about these characters till Act 2, and then you find out Sylvando's got that, that thing with his dad, and he's really a knight, and you find out all this shit about the character, and it's okay, like, this is the actual development now.
Oh yeah, especially when you go back to Dundrasil, and then, like, you see that flashback with your dad and your mom when like the kingdom's being attacked, and then after that you have to free your dad's spirit from that lion monster.
That's right. Yeah, which by the way was an homage to 4 with the lion monster in that game that also screws around with Alina's dad. I think he takes over Alina's dad if I remember correctly, or he took over the kingdom.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But he whoops your ass in 4, bro. He's a bitch.
In 4,
he's
hard in 4, but
oh my god.
Yeah, but
yeah,
in like 11 he's easy, but then when you actually fight him again post game in 11, he's even easier.
I think he's easier too, but you're also stronger.
Yeah.
So. And I do love how they showed like Morkant and all that, like how he took over the king. So it's like, okay, the king wasn't really being a dick on purpose. You know, it was all set up by Morkant. So
yeah.
And I love how. Okay, so let me ask you a question. So the scene when Morkant uses the Sword of Darkness to destroy Erdwin's lantern.
Yeah.
Did you know what was going on?
No, I had no idea.
Okay, because they're like Rab's reading it.
Yeah, because actually I thought when Morkant gets rid of Erdwin's lantern, I thought like another big meteorite was going to crash or something like that. Something really
like Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, something bad was going to happen. But actually, what's his name? Prince. Like what's his name? Prince Ferris. He's the savior of Gallopolis, and he's kind of right. He did save Gallopolis by getting rid of Erdwin's lantern.
Yeah, in a weird way, and I do love how it's the Sword of Darkness, aka the Sword of Light. So it makes sense that he was able to do that. But I do love how Rab reads Kalasmos. Like,
yeah,
what is
Kalasmos.
That?
Yeah,
you're not supposed to know anything, and you beat the game. I love how when you beat the game, it pretty much tells you it's not over because there's a lot of unanswered questions. You don't know who Kalasmos is.
Yeah.
And you also don't know what those little white things. And I love how in the game they're all over the game. Those
those little ghost things. And
now, I want to ask you about that because I was a little confused. Are those little ghost things supposed to represent? Because one of them was the spirit of Kalasmos, or so we believe. Was that what they were going for there? Because I didn't understand what happened. Like, I mean, I understand what happened in the past. We're going to get to that in a minute, but are those blue things, are they supposed to be spirits, or are they like the gatekeepers? Like, I don't, how'd you interpret that?
Yeah, I mean, I would say those, like the blue things were definitely gatekeepers for the Tower of Time and stuff.
Yeah.
But, like the purple dark ones were definitely agents of Kalasmos, or, like his essence in a way.
Did they ever explain where they came from? Because when you beat the game, you see them like create the world tree. But did they ever explain, like, I don't think they ever really explained what they were, like.
Yeah, I don't think they did, actually.
Yeah, that sucks, because I couldn't tell what they were. But, so you see the thing, and it's looking up at the lantern, and then Morkant shows up and destroys it, and then you're like, okay, well, he's destroying something good. But then what he says, he's like, I'm not going to let you stop me, then destroys it.
Right.
And then later on, you find out and I love how when you go to, I think it's Arborea, you see that mural of the hero Erdwin, legendary hero from the Age of Heroes, who's pointing up, and it says there, Erdwin defeats the Lord of Darkness, and just what you're thinking, it's Morkant, and he left Earth on Erdwin's lantern, like they're making it seem like he left that behind and moved on to the next life. And then you find out what really happened in the post game, and it's like that's not what happened at all. So what this actually did, Ryan, is it made me think, like, this is going to sound like I'm thinking too much into it, but it's how I feel. It makes you wonder about, like, history books. Like,
right. Oh, wow. Okay.
What if they got it wrong? Because, like, there's a lot of stuff in history books that we are finding out is wrong. And it's like, in this whole story, it's like, hey, this legendary hero, or when you are the reincarnation, you are the luminary.
Yeah.
But yet you find out that, yes, he did accomplish his mission, but then something bad happened and he got betrayed. And it's not what they... So they somehow... So Serenica must have come back and told them, oh, everything's okay. Yeah, we beat him. Everything's fine. And straight up lied, bro.
Yeah, she did.
Well, it had to have been her, or it had to have been... the guy in the red armor, Dundrast or whatever, Drustin. Yeah. What were we gonna say?
Well, I would assume she told everybody that, oh, hey, we actually defeated Kalasmos, but obviously, Erdwin was betrayed by Morkant, and then after Morkant turns into Mordegon, and then but she wants to go back in time to save Erdwin, but then she fails, and then she becomes the guardian of the tower.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember. Remind me why she didn't go back in time, because I remember she.
Let's see. She.
Because she did it in the post game.
Yeah, like she had the sword, but it didn't exactly break properly, I think. And then after that, she died, and then all the little all those little spirits turned her into the Guardian.
Yeah. So yeah, you beat the game, then you go to the Temple of Time or whatever. I'm using the Zelda thing. Then you go because you're like, hey, we could probably bring back Veronica. And I remember when you first go back, I'm like, wait a minute. You mean to tell me I have to grind all over?
Yeah, exactly. I was like, oh my god, do I have to grind all this shit all over again?
But then when you go to the fucking the thing that did not get destroyed in the alternate timeline, they give you your powers back. I was like,
yeah. Although it does take a little while for you to get your powers back.
A very short while.
Yeah.
It wasn't that long. Yeah. I love that, and I just love like the post game how. Morkant is about to. He's possessing the king. He's about to grab the sword, and then the spirit of Kalasmos or whatever knocks his hand away. And he's like, "No, you can't touch that." And then he even says, "You didn't come back in time alone." He followed them to the fucking time chamber, bro, or whatever.
Yeah.
He followed them back in time. That was great.
And it was also kind of trippy how like Morkant was actually the seer.
Yeah, okay, that's a total fucking Piccolo and Kami situation here. So, all right, let's talk about that real quick. So, I want to get your thoughts on this. So, okay. Erdwin beats Kalasmos.
Yeah.
He's on top of him, pause. He's about to finish him off, and then Morkant betrays him. So, was Kalasmos' like evil essence what made him evil? And when did the split actually happen when he became the seer and when he became Mordegon? Like, they didn't fully explain that. They didn't show all that.
Well, I would assume that. Let's see. I would probably assume that Morkant made the deal with Kalasmos right before Erdwin defeated him, and so
Yeah, but he didn't really make a deal because remember he wanted. Mordegon wanted the power for himself. Is the way I interpreted it. Like he didn't want Kalasmos around. He wanted to be the freaking Dark One. That was the whole goal or the whole thing.
Right. Yeah. And so let's see. It's kind of hard to think about when he actually splits into the seer.
They never really showed it. He just explains like, yeah, I'm him.
Yeah, I'm the seer, or I take different forms and stuff. I'm just telling you, maybe this is kind of like the good side of me left. Like right before I became evil and shit.
Yeah, well, I don't know about you, but when I was playing the game. I had thought that I thought that the seer was going to be Serenica. I mean, I didn't.
Yeah. I was thinking that too.
As the game progressed, I'm like, okay, but she's a time chick.
Yeah. I was thinking that too. I was like, maybe. I was thinking, maybe the seer is like like her old lady form is like the older version of Serenica, but it isn't.
Right, and I also I loved, again, there's so many homages. You have to create your sword in a volcano. The volcano was in Dragon Quest 3.
Oh, yeah.
You have, you have to gather the tools and you create the sword of light. Then you have to get the super sword in the post game. Obviously you have stuff at the casino, which I didn't really mess with it in this game. Like the casino, I've messed with it in other Dragon Quest games. I've never been a big fan of the casino.
Yeah, me neither.
It's not my thing.
Yeah, I think the only time I really messed with it was in Dragon Quest. Was like probably the 5th game, but
yeah.
But actually, when you go back to Octagonia in like the second part of the game, like in like post game,
they have the evil casino.
Yeah, the evil casino, and I was like, oh my god, I won over like 99.99 million like gold pieces,
and you get like shit, right? You like cow feces or something like that out of it.
Oh no, I just got him. Let's see, I think I paid like a million, like a million tokens for just a herb.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny. So again, the post game stuff here. So because that's really what we're talking about here, the spoiler talk. So like. Hendrik joins you, obviously everything gets good. You got to fight the real villain and whatnot.
Yeah.
I feel like Mordegon was developed better than Kalasmos, even though there were a couple things that had me kind of wondering what was going on, and I feel like they really left it open for a sequel or possibly a prequel.
Well,
go ahead.
Well, I don't think Kalasmos really, he was just kind of the big bad that didn't like really have like a lot of like. I mean, we really didn't know his motive or anything. He was just like this big evil thing, just.
He's just evil for the sake of being evil. When you go fight him, he says something like, I could like it's up to the void, and the whole thing about the void confused me because it reminded me of Final Fantasy V.
Yeah.
There was a void in that. So is the idea that like, and we're just talking shit here, but is the idea that okay, at the beginning of time, there was the Yggdrasil dragon, and then that was like God, and then I guess Kalasmos is like darkness, and the dragon lost to Kalasmos, and then Erdwin lost too, but that wasn't the intention, and then the dragon became the tree, which I thought was awesome. But like, I guess is that kind of what it is? Like they were there since the beginning of time, because he kept saying stuff like, even though I may die, other people, my spirit will live on. And I'm just wondering, like, it just sounds like it sounds like a sequel is coming or a prequel, because I think the story of Erdwin, Serenica, Morkant, that could be its own game. Like,
oh yeah, definitely. I mean, well, yeah, they actually did that. They actually did that with like Lufia 2 on the SNES.
Yeah.
That was
at Dragon Quest 3.
Yeah, Dragon Quest 3, exactly.
That's the one.
Yeah, like, well, I would say, like the Yggdragon and also like Kalasmos, like, like if you have good, you have to have evil. So, like to balance things out. So I think that's why he, like, that's like the reason why like Kalasmos exists in the first place. Since he has to be the the darkness, and the Yggdragon has to be the light. And did you think that Kalasmos kind of looked like? He kind of looked like Jiren and Imperfect
Jiren and Cell.
Yeah. I was like...
I saw a picture of him a year ago when it came out in Japan, and I was like, oh, it's Toriyama. You know. Morrigan was a more creative-looking boss, but, I mean, it was cool to fight. It was a cool final fight. I mean, you're on that yellow thing, and I love the whale using the horn to crack it.
Yeah.
And what popped me, and I knew the song was in the game, but when Serenica... starts playing. Veronica starts playing the flute, and it's the fucking Heavenly Flight song.
Yeah, Heavenly Flight.
That's one of my favorite songs ever. They play it in 3, they play it in 8, they play it here.
Yeah, in 11.
But you don't have a bird, you have a whale.
Yeah, a giant whale. Yeah, I'm like, the whale is okay, but I prefer the bird.
I prefer the bird too. Yeah, but it's okay because, it's still. God, you have the orbs, which is totally from 3. I mean, there's just so many things, dude. The combat arena, again, that's from... And then, dude, what popped me is when you go to the combat arena and they play... And you have to be super hardcore to remember this song. The Battle Arena's theme from 4, not the battle theme, but the actual... Dun, 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 dun,
yeah.
I'm like, bro, I'm popping, bro. I'm literally like,
I'm
like a little kid.
Yeah, I recognize that right off the bat. I was like, this is Dragon Quest 4.
Yeah. Dun, 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 dun. They had the best music from all those games, I think.
I agree.
So, okay, I'm trying to think of where we go here. Okay, so, all right. So the dragon, the Yggdragon, all right?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a couple things I want to... This is my interpretation of things. I want to see if you agree or if you have your own interpretation. So the way I see it is when you use the Sword of Light to crack that orb and go back in time...
Yeah.
Remember how they said that you create a split timeline where you left is going to stay where it's at. So all of your friends in Act 2, they're different now. You go back in time, you disappear.
Yeah.
Right? But I feel like the fact that when you go back in time, there are constantly characters saying, oh, this is familiar, this is familiar. The way I'm seeing is I think this might have been a split timeline that eventually wound up becoming one timeline over again. And there is a theory on this.
Right.
The reconverging timeline theory. I don't want to get into the details on this, but essentially, if you split a timeline, eventually, I guess, matter or whatever, the space-time continuum will merge them. And even though the new timeline takes precedence, there's still that weird sort of deja vu. I've seen people try to explain it as that actually being deja vu. Like, why we have deja vu. One person's like, oh, well, that's another timeline that we saw that. Like, do you know what I'm talking about? Like Stephen Hawking.
Okay. I definitely agree with you because, like, remember when you beat Morrigan, in post-game, and he's like, whoa, you didn't go back in time alone and stuff. Yeah, I think he knows you went back in time.
Yeah, he's like, you didn't come back alone, and that was very interesting that he knew. Yeah, and because I think it was again the diverging timelines. Now, what I think is interesting is when you beat the game.
Yeah,
when you actually beat the game, and I thought this was great. Serenica goes back to her human form. You give her the power of the Luminary. You grant her the power of the Luminary. She takes the sword. She cracks the thing, goes back in time. After the credits are rolling, the last thing you see before the actual post-credit scene is her going back and meeting Erdwin at some point, I guess, before they fought Kalasmos.
Yeah, I think so.
So the way I'm interpreting it is, here's my interpretation. When you go back in time, you create the split timeline, and then slowly the timelines diverge. I feel like when Serenica went back in time, I think that alternate timeline where she met Erdwin before he died is going to stand on its own. I don't think that timeline is going to converge with the current one.
Oh, yeah.
But here's the wacky theory that I read online, and I don't know if I agree with this one. The wacky theory is that Serenica and the new timeline she created is actually the mother from Dragon Quest III, who we see in the post-credit scene, put the book back on the wall and wake up the hero, which popped me to no fucking end.
Yeah, I was like,
in the English version, they added extra dialogue that wasn't in the Japanese one. All she says in the Japanese one is "Wake up, honey." That's it.
Right.
Yeah. So again, this is the theory, and that becomes the timeline for Dragon Quest 1, 2, and 3, and then the other timeline where Erdwin is where your main character wins, the one where you see the sword come down and the hero from the first game grabs it. I think that is the timeline for 4, 5, and 6. That's what people were saying because of the fact that the Ig Dragon is very similar, almost identical to the Heavenly Dragon from 4, 5.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Do you think that fits or not really? Because I'm on the fence on this one.
Yeah, I'm a bit on the fence because it might not be the Heavenly Dragon, from Zenithia. I mean,
Zenithia, yeah,
Zenithia,
Heaven.
Yeah. The Ig Dragon might be a completely different being, and also, come to think of it, like the beginning of Dragon Quest III, I would probably say that takes place a couple of centuries, after Serenica,
It has to be because the world looks so different.
Oh yeah, and and there's like no way Erdwin's going to be Ortega, Erdwin's
so you
father.
think that exactly? So you think that maybe it's like not it's maybe the mother from 3, Ortega's wife or whatever, is essentially like a great descendant of Erdwin and Serenica.
Yeah,
is that possible?
Yeah, that's what I think.
Now the way I interpreted it, because I'm telling you what I read online.
Right.
I interpreted it as the entire time that and this is wacky, but I love it. The entire game that you're playing is a fairy tale. Dragon Quest XI, the whole game is just a fairy tale.
Ooh.
And the fairy tale ends, she puts the book back on the shelf, and when she wakes up, Ortega's son, or daughter, because you can make it a girl in Dragon Quest III, when she wakes up the legendary Erdrick character from 3, that's the real world, and that Dragon Quest XI was just a fairy tale. Because you see her put the book on the wall.
Oh yeah.
Now, what do you think about? Because I think that would be kind of cool. Like 11 never really happened. It's just a folk tale.
Yeah, that might make sense. It could be possible, but the thing is, at the end, like once you beat, after you beat Kalasmos, the Ig Dragon calls you, Erdrick. So
Yes.
Yeah. So like. That might be an indication. Maybe it might not be a fairy tale, but maybe maybe they're reading kind of a history book.
Yeah, or maybe it could be one of those things where the name Erdrick, or maybe that story of Dragon Quest XI is so important in the world of Dragon Quest III. Maybe it's like a folk story, and that's where they got the name from. I mean, I don't know. One thing that's always been interesting to me about Dragon Quest III is how you have the world above, then you have the world of darkness, aka Alefgard.
Yeah.
I've always found it weird that, like, supposedly Rubis, I love Dragon Quest lore, but it is confusing.
Yeah.
Rubis created the underworld, and there's also theories that the underworld exists in Dragon Quest XI, but you just don't ever access it. Like, we're over here just talking shit, but it is interesting to me as to how it can tie in, you know? Because I like the idea of, like, 11 being, like, this fairy tale that kind of, or maybe you're right, maybe it did happen, like, a long, long time ago.
Right, yeah.
You got dogs barking in the background, bro. Is everything all right over there?
Oh, it's a couple of neighbors' dogs, you know, like in my apartment complex, so.
No, that's all good, bro.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so what do you think? What do you think the tie-in is? Because look, we have a scene where the dragon drops the sword down, and then the hero from 1 picks it up. I saw that as being just symbolic. I didn't see that as actually being actually him. Because remember, the sword's not even his. And then you know what's weird is it's called the Sword of Kings in Dragon Quest III, but the Sword of Kings is a different sword in this game.
Oh yeah. Yeah, like in
confusing.
Yeah, I definitely know in like the first 2 games it's called Erdrick's sword.
Of course, yeah, it has to be. Yeah, because it's his. Yeah. So what do you think? What do you think happened?
What do I think happened? Well, let me think. Yeah, it is a bit confusing because you know there's a lot of timelines now.
Just your theory. Like, how did you interpret that ending?
How did I interpret the ending? Okay, so. Alright, so you beat Kalasmos, you know, the egg dragons, you know, like cause you Erdrick, and then Serenica goes back in time to rescue Erdwin, then they live happily ever after, and actually we might not even know if like, you know, like the end scene, which is basically the beginning of the 3rd game, like we don't know if it belongs to Erdwin and Serenica's timeline or the Luminary's timeline. You know, with
or if it's just a fairy tale,
or if it's just a fairy tale. Yeah, it could be. It could be interpreted in many ways.
Ramia, aka Imperia or whatever, said in 8 that they call me Ramia, so it's almost like there's different dimensions, and then you have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 9, and then I don't even know where 10 would fit, and then 11. I don't know, man. Maybe I'm overthinking it. I mean, I think we might be overthinking it, but it's still it's still fun to talk about.
Well,
this game is a big love affair to the other ones. What were you gonna say?
Yeah. Well, if I had to choose one, I would definitely say. I would definitely say the events of Dragon Quest XI happened, so they're complete canon, and they are the prequel to the 3rd game.
So you think that Ortega is somehow related to Serenica and Erdwin, or maybe even
or even his wife,
or what about Gemma and the main character?
Oh, Gemma and the main character. Oh yeah.
Do you think that maybe they got married, they had obviously kids, and then like that could be Ortega? I'm just throwing ideas out.
No, that could be a good theory. I never thought of that actually.
I don't know. Now, one thing I don't think is a theory, I don't agree with, I saw it on the GameFAQs board, is they were talking about how when the dragon says, even I may become evil, there were people saying that that's like a hint that the dragon is the Dragon Lord, and it's not for several reasons. Number 1, the dragon is female. Number 2, the Dragon Lord, like from the first game, is the son of the Dragon Queen in 3, because in 3, you take the egg and you leave the egg in the underworld, and that eventually becomes the Dragon Lord.
Right. Yeah.
That's the way I always interpreted it. So, but remember, the Dragon Queen was not evil. So I feel like what happened was, and this is just my interpretation, and maybe it's my own headcanon here, but this is the way I always put the events together. I think that in the underworld, that you had an Alefgard.
Yeah.
You've got these evil archfiends like Zoma who worship. I think Zoma was a predecessor to Hargan. I think they both worshipped Malroth or Saito, whatever you want to call him. And I think what may have happened is when the Dragon Lord egg came from the Dragon Queen down to Alefgard. And it's funny because if you haven't played these games, you probably have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about. You have to know this shit to know. This is like hardcore Dragon Quest.
This is the spoiler talk, so yeah.
The top, this is like the Consensu of fucking Dragon Quest here. So it goes down, and then I think that the evil that was in that castle sort of made the Dragon Lord, because the Dragon Lord grew up without a family. I think the Dragon Lord would have been a good person, but he got greedy, he got selfish. And I think that he may have been manipulated by the spirit of Malroth, because we know that in 2, Hargan is trying to conjure up Malroth. He finally does it at the end of the game when you kill him. You fight. I'm guessing the way that they did it was that he was like a sacrifice. Like when you kill him, it was like the final sacrifice for Malroth to come into fruition. And did you ever notice how the symbol of Zoma, which is like the eye that's like on his like forehead, is like the eye of Saito, the eye of Malroth. I always put that together in my head, like, okay, this dude is worshiping this demon who is a god of destruction. Hakaishin Saito is his Japanese name, god of destruction Malroth. So I mean, that's the way I always interpret it. So I don't think this dragon is. I would rather believe this is the Zenithian dragon than the Dragon Lord. I don't think it's the Dragon Lord.
Yeah, I don't think it's the Dragon Lord either.
No, but what they could do, I was thinking about this. Let me know your thoughts on this one.
Okay.
Is if they do Dragon Quest 12, which is inevitable, they could actually do a game where they tell the story of Erdwin, Serenica, Morkant, and their quest. You've got 4 characters. You could easily make a game out of it. You're traveling this world again, but many, many years ago, so the towns are going to look different, all this stuff. And then maybe you fight Kalasmos, and you beat him, and then the events they happen the way that they did in 11, where you get betrayed and all that.
Yeah.
Then they show the scene of Serenica coming back in time, and you play as her for a second, you find Erdwin, then you have to go beat Kalasmos, then you have to go beat Morkant. Actually, that would be even better. You beat Kalasmos in 12, then you go fight Mortigan. But can that really be its own game? I don't know. I'm just saying they could do that, because they have never told the entire Erdwin quest.
In all honesty, I think it would definitely work as like a DLC episode, but probably not as Dragon Quest 12.
It could work maybe as, remember that Final Fantasy IV, the After Years?
Yeah, the After Years. I remember that.
Maybe they could do something like that, like Dragon Quest 11, the Age of Heroes. That's it, Dragon Quest 11, Age of Heroes.
Yeah, maybe they can do that.
Although I would play the fuck out of it.
Yeah, me too.
Jesus, because that'd be great. Like you fight Kalasmos and then you beat him. Then the whole time it's like the reverse of 11. Then you have to go fight Mortigan, but instead it's you, Serenica, and Drundus, and that's it. Like he's a bad guy. Or unless they figure out a way to like make the seer become like a part of your party. There's a lot of things they could do, bro. I'm just talking shit right now.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, no problem.
I've been rambling a lot in this podcast, bro. I feel very weird about that.
No problem. I mean, we just love Dragon Quest that much.
Yeah. Okay. So all right. So the sword of the Sword of Light is exactly the same look as the old sword. So I mean, is it just an homage? I mean, it's just weird because. Okay, another thing I want to ask you about. She puts the book on the shelf. There's a red book, then there's a green book right next to it, and they both have the luminary symbol. The green book has to be Erdwin's quest. What else would it be?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? I feel like the red book is the new luminary and the green book is the old luminary. That's the way, because it was the same symbol. The luminary symbol's on the damn book.
Yeah, exactly. I know.
Okay, so I was just, if you had any ideas on that.
If I had ideas on that, yeah, it probably could be Erdwin's story.
I'm just trying to fit everything together, bro. Maybe I'm having a headache here trying to. All right, so what else did you want to talk about post game? Just out of curiosity, because I'm over here like wanting to talk about this so badly. I love the credit scene where they showed all the other games.
Yeah.
I wasn't paying attention. Did they show 10? They did show 10.
Yeah, they showed 10.
Never come out here. Oh.
Well, they showed all the Japanese footage of the games, but it's
That's
good.
True.
Yeah, but it's good enough though.
Yeah. No, I loved it. So anything else you want to talk about as far as the game goes, spoiler wise, because it's hit me.
Yeah, like I would definitely say, I'd definitely say it definitely hits you in the heart probably more times than probably as much or probably even more than Dragon Quest V, because I remember when I was playing Dragon Quest V on the DS. I mean, I actually haven't played the SNES version. Like, I remember the times that I did actually kind of cry is when your dad dies, which is like 2 hours into the game. And then, I think around 10 hours into the game, when you're all grown up and married, you go back in time, and then like you tell your younger self, "Hey, everything's gonna be okay," and hang in there. I'm like, oh man, like that that really hits you in the feels. And then,
Yeah.
and then you talk to your father, and then he's like, "Oh, who are you again?"
And your mother, right?
Yeah, and your mother.
Yeah.
And then once you finally get revenge for your father, I know that's different in the DS version in comparison to the SNES version.
Mm-hmm.
But either way, like, you feel really good once you get like revenge for your father.
Well, I feel the same way about fucking 4, bro.
Yeah.
How in 4 your whole town gets ransacked. When you finally get to chapter 5, you finally get there, the hero's quest.
Yeah.
You know, that song of loneliness.
Oh yeah,
bro.
and also when you also beat 4, then you go back to when you go back to your town, and then after all of your allies just come up, like all of your past allies come to comfort you.
To comfort you. Yeah, but I love how in
You're like,
4.
oh.
In the PS1 and the DS version, you have that extra chapter where it's pretty much Necro Sorrow's like revenge, where he turns good, and he's like a really powerful fucking ally.
Yeah.
He's so powerful.
Yeah, and you actually see him as a human being too.
He's a human. Yeah, he was like Sephiroth, except more badass.
I know.
But the thing is, what I loved about 4. When it comes to like 1, 2, and 3, and then also 11, because 11's a throwback to 1, 2, and 3, the villains of like 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, they're all like irredeemable evil motherfuckers. But with 4, you kind of understand why Sorrow is so driven when you find out that his girlfriend's tears like make fucking gems, and they were making her cry on purpose to make fucking jewelry or whatever. That's like, you want to root for the guy. So when you finally fight Amon or whatever, the real dick who's been manipulating you, it is a very satisfying final battle.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. God, it's just it's very good. It's a very satisfying game, bro. They really do things that are, good. I don't know. I'm rambling right now.
Oh yeah, like.
So what else did you like about 11, bro? Spoiler. Anything you want to talk about?
Spoilers?
The whale, fucking anything. I thought it was all pretty. I love the whole Rab side quest with like the martial arts thing and like learning the technique
when you go up to Master Pang.
Yeah, and it's like a chick, and then like I love the scene where he's like really skinny, and like what the hell happened here? And then he comes back to life. I don't know if he was like almost dead, like his spirit was
he was almost dead. And then he says like, oh well, yeah, and then he's back to normal. He says, oh yeah, just a good breakfast meal just helps me, just get fat again.
Right, that was awesome, and I love the fucking when you go inside the painting, dude. You're in there twice.
Oh yeah, that was
the second time. The boss was an asshole, though.
Oh my god, yeah, like when you go inside the painting and then like you see that fucking labyrinth, you're like, holy shit, how the fuck do I navigate through this?
Right.
Also
another thing that was sad too was the whole side quest with the dragon, and you have to show him the mirror with the Oto or whatever.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I don't remember her name.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you know what I'm talking about, right? The red dragon. Then in the post game,
yeah, the priestess.
Yeah, the priestess. Yeah. I forget her fucking name.
Then she sacrifices herself to her son. Because her son's a dragon, but then you kill the dragon, then you end up killing him. But then after a post game, you can prevent all of that.
Yeah, you prevent. All of it
that was definitely emotional, and also fighting that guy like right before the end of the regular game, he was an asshole because he got to attack like 3 fucking times.
Yeah, right. No, and that's normal in the post game too. The hardest thing for me, I don't know. And also the game does have a hard mode too, but the hardest thing for me was doing the wheel of Dharma or whatever, the final trial, because you have to do it under like 30 turns. I did it, and there's different techniques to doing it. Like you have to you can pre-pep, and I didn't do any of that. I'm not gonna brag, but I figured it out. Even though I did get a little bit of help, online, because I was like trying to get some ideas of how to formulate my party. But when you have Eric and you have Divide with the 2 boomerangs,
oh yeah, exactly.
Oh my god, bro! You're literally doing like 4 hits on every character with the boomerang.
Oh yeah,
and it's all 200 damage or more.
Yeah, and also Eric has that ability that will always get him like a critical hit.
Yes, so you can knock out Metal Kings like that.
Oh yeah. That's how I grinded, and also And I whooped Kalasmos with Eric, basically.
Me too. Actually, I was going to ask you, do you think the game was too easy?
Not really, because I think the first... Actually, I would definitely say the first half is pretty easy, but then I actually lost. The first time I lost was when, Eric's sister becomes, like the gold monster, right?
That was cool.
Yeah, like that was like the first battle I lost because I think that was the first boss that actually attacked like 2 times. And then then kind of shortly after that, you have to fight the dragon at Hodo, and then although I did find Mordegon, not that difficult as those bosses though.
Yeah, I know. I agree. Mordegon was, and Kalasmos is way more difficult if you don't use the sword than if you do. I beat it with using the sword. I'm gonna try it probably tomorrow without the sword, just see how I do. Because he's an asshole. And I do love how you destroy his arms and his face cracks. That was fucking cool.
Yeah, and also the problem with like Kalasmos is sometimes sometimes there's like a bit of randomness that can actually determine your victory, because like usually I'll have Serena doing healing, right? And if I lose her, then I'm actually kind of fucked, because like most of the times I can heal.
Rab is also a healer.
Oh yeah. Also, Rab is kind of my backup, but but at the time I think I had but at the time I beat him, I actually think Serena had like the magic that could heal everybody like all the way to maximum, but
Omni heal.
Yeah, Omni heal, but my Rab didn't have it yet though.
No, I don't think Rab gets it at all. Rab does not get Omni.
Oh, really?
The only ones that get it are your main character and her.
Oh, okay.
Which is something that's an old Dragon Quest trope. Like, I think even in 3, the main character has heal us all or whatever. Yeah, Omni heal. Yeah, and actually in 4, the main character and Necrosauro, or Death Pizarro, whatever you want to call him, he also has it. So it's usually 1 or 2 characters that have Omni heal.
Right, yeah.
I like using Rab. See, I'm like you. Rab was my backup, but then when I gave Rab those really powerful claws, Rab is one of the best characters in that game because he has incredible physical attacks, incredible magic attacks, and healing. He's really, really strong, and that's actually why I asked you if you thought the game was too easy, because I thought the game was easy for somebody like me. I'm used to the Dragon Quest grind. I'm not one of these like Pokemon kids that grew up. That was their first RPG. I was Dragon Warrior guy, so I knew how to grind. Also, I got to level 99 before I fought Kalasmos easily, and before I fought Mordegon, I was at level like 77, 78, not 80.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, because I really took out those heavy-handed guys. Grinded on that. So I think it was my fault. I made it too easy for myself. Plus, yeah.
Well, when I fought Mordegon, I think I was only at like level 43.
Yeah, you were way below me, bro. I was at 70. I was, oh my god. I know I overgrinded. I know I did. It's just,
yeah. I mean, I'm not much of a grinder in RPGs because, like I used to remember back when like me and my cousin would play games and like he would make fun of me saying, well, like you think grinding is an enemy in the game too.
Right, pretty much. I will say this though, I don't think Kalasmos, and again, I haven't played him without the, using the sword to take out the shield. He wasn't the hardest final boss. I had heard that he wasn't for me. I feel like Dragon Quest, if you fight Zoma, he might be a little bit harder, I think. It definitely was longer. I think probably one of the hardest final bosses. Who do you think is the hardest final boss in Dragon Quest? Because for me, it's either, I think it's Malroth in the original NES version.
Oh yeah, definitely Malroth is one of them.
He does heal more to himself, bro.
Yeah.
And remember, your second, the Prince of Canuck, is a pussy.
Yeah.
He sucks. He always dies. It's either him or the Dragon Quest V guy. I didn't really have much difficulty. I mean, he was a pain in the ass. Because once they do that thing where they disable all of your like boosts, like all your buffs, it does make So who do you think was the hardest one, in your opinion?
I think I had the most trouble with the last boss of Dragon Quest VI. I kind of forgot his name, but I just remember being frustrated.
You're talking about Deathmore or whatever. They changed his name for the dub.
Deathmore.
I keep saying the dub. Yeah, the English version they changed all the names, bro.
Yeah.
I don't like that. Because Kalasmos' Japanese name is like fucking. He has a really long name.
Oh, okay.
Oh god, oh my god, I read it online, dude. I'm looking at Japanese name.
Okay.
Yeah, his name is different in the Japanese version. It's like a long name, dude. Like they changed it. Oh god, I might not even be able to find it.
All right. Okay, no problem.
Yeah, I mean it's not a big deal, but we can look it up later. But yeah, they changed all the names. So overall, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little bummed out that I can't play. I mean, I could go back and play the game again, but it's over now. And
yeah, I'm a bit bummed out too. I will play it when it comes out on the Nintendo Switch again. That's for sure.
I will, and let me tell you right now, if it has the 3DS modes, I'm definitely playing that game over again with classic Famicom top-down view. I really want to play that version. I don't know if you heard, but in that version, with the whale, you can land anywhere.
Oh yeah, that's one thing I didn't like about this game. Like, the whale could not land anywhere.
Yeah, only in those little sparkly spots.
Yeah, so if I wanted to get to like a specific place, I just couldn't land with the whale.
You had to either zoom or you had to use the ship, and it sucks because you had to remember in the post game. He doesn't remember the zoom locations.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so it was. Yeah, I don't know. Anyways, thank you, Ryan, for being here. It was fun talking about Dragon Quest XI, and I don't know if there's anything we missed. We'll see. We're theorizing on where it fits in with 1, 2, and 3, and I think it does fit one way or another. I like the idea of it being a fairy tale, but I also like the idea of, like we talked about, like maybe the timeline that Serenica created is the timeline of 3. Maybe 11's timeline with the main character Luminary and Serena and Veronica, that's going to be its own thing. But the timeline that when she went back in time, I would like it if that did wind up being 3.
Oh, yeah, hopefully. Well, we'll see.
Yeah, and I definitely don't think that the dragon ends up being the Dragon Lord or even the Dragon Queen. I just don't see that.
I don't think
so either. Plus, it became a tree anyways. It just became a dragon at the end to illustrate what it was, but it's now a tree forever. It's the Yggdrasil tree forever.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Yeah, and plus they also that was another tribute that they also had because Dragon Quest IX has a lot of stuff with trees too. So.
Oh yeah. Thanks for having me on. I mean, if like we were going to talk about all the Dragon Quest games, we'd be here for like 10 hours basically.
Well, we could come back and do that because I could talk about this franchise forever, and I have so little friends to talk about this. Like I said, you, Chris, Emma. I'm actually naming people who I know who are Dragon Quest like hardcore people. There's not many of them. Like,
I know.
Who know. Like if I tell you like about Rubus and you don't know who that is, I'm not saying that you're a lesser fan, but I'm saying if you know who that is, it's like, okay, like this person has played these games, they know.
Right.
And that's a whole mystery in itself. So, but thank you so much, and thanks everybody for listening. Remember, check out Ryan's book. Plug your book real quick, bro. Now.
Yes.
Go.
All right. So go to Amazon and look up "A Winner Is You" by Ryan Molina. Make sure to pick it up.
Check it out. And that's not the last book that you're writing. This is a new venture for you.
Oh, yeah. Right now I'm working on a Mega Man retrospective book, and I'm working on 2 Dragon Ball books for next year.
Damn, it sucks because that Mega Man book would have been perfect to put out now. With 11 coming out.
Exactly,
you missed it by like a year.
Yeah, I missed it.
I'm hoping that they announce 12. I don't want to wait 10 years for 12, but I'm hoping that we can put the book out right then and there.
Right. Oh, yeah. Well, but I actually plan to put the Mega Man book out probably around next summer.
I can't wait to read that.
All right,
and
thanks,
I can't wait for your I cannot wait for your chapter on the animated series.
All right. Yeah.
Cuz dude, the episode where Mega Man X and Spark Mandrill show up and Mega Man X is like super alpha. Oh man, I'm like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Please tell me you're covering that at least in one chapter.
Well, I can't spoil a lot, but I'll let you know.
Okay. Well, thanks for being here.
Yeah, no problem, man. And yeah, for everyone who's listening to this, I would say definitely check out Dragon Quest XI, even if you've never played a single Dragon Quest game before.
Well, hopefully they stop listening by now. We ruined the entire game for them.
Oh, yeah.
By now. I hope that you're not listening to this. I really hope that people listening to this part of the podcast already played them all. This is like the post game Act 3 of the podcast. Don't listen to this.
Well, like let's just say, the experience of the game is a lot different than getting spoiled because I've been spoiled on like a lot of things. Like I spoiled I spoiled Resurrection F before I saw it, but I still enjoyed the movie.
But that was everyone because we got it like 4 months later or whatever.
Yeah.
This movie's gonna get spoiled too. The Broly one coming out.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Very soon. But no, I was gonna say, yeah, it's still. I will say this: if you played 11, go ahead and play 1, 2, and 3 at least.
Yep, available on your mobile phone.
Yes, and don't worry, the mobile version of 2 is a lot easier and a lot more. Again, I'm not saying that 2 on NES is super hard, but it's just really primitive and it's got issues, but it's been tweaked for the mobile version, so it's still worth playing. It's and I like 2 a lot. I really do.
Yeah,
except it's just the last part of it is a pain in the ass.
Yeah, I agree.
Especially when we'll talk about it in the future, but when you fight those gold bat boons that can cast sacrifice and kill you in one turn, like oh my god, the game is ruthless.
God, I completely forgot about that until now. Now
every time you see them, you run.
Yeah, now I see the gold baboons clear as day in my memory.
Yes, they will destroy you. Like H.C. Bailey would say, they'll kill you. So,
and also,
anyways,
and also,
go ahead, bro.
And I would like to thank you personally for my entire Dragon Quest XI experience.
Come on, we don't have to talk about that on here.
Yeah,
but I'm glad that you liked the game at least, and this is and we could talk about it. So
right, yeah, oh yeah. Also, I'm probably gonna do like a long, awesome video game memories. Like, I'm gonna do a long, awesome video game memories feature film review of Dragon Quest XI.
Really? So you're not gonna do 1, 2, 3? I mean, you could do that later on.
Oh yeah, I'll probably do those later on. But I plan to talk about this thing for as ever long as. I mean, I would say probably over 45 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, we talked for an hour and 20.
Yeah.
And we still, I mean, there's a lot of stuff we didn't even talk about. I didn't even get your thoughts on forging weapons. I thought that was awesome.
Oh, yeah, it was great, yeah. I mean, at first I was confused about it, but then I kind of became a master at it.
Me too. Yeah, fucking Sizzly Puff,
Yes.
multi-bash.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it, really. And then the triple power ones whenever you have the long ones. It's not that hard, but at first you're right, it is confusing.
Or
and
just...
if the best weapons in the game, and just like with any other Dragon Quest game, the best weapons in the game you don't get until later.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we're dragging on this ending. So anyways, thank you, and we'll talk to y'all next time.
All right, later, everybody.